and advocates of the tremendous crimes that are then committed. In addition, crimes of terror will be committed to an enormous extent by fanatics of the Palestinians, whereby their suicidal acts of terror will take on incredibly primitive and inhuman forms, and many deaths will have to be lamented. Everything on both sides, so on the Israeli as well as on the Palestinian side, will degenerate to such a degree that prisoners will be made, and then they will simply be shot and, thus, murdered, and many will even be tortured beforehand. Everything will cruelly escalate and degenerate. In addition, there are also other national powerful figures of various other countries, such as the national leaders of Iraq and Iran, who will act in the same form, this in addition to the degenerated religious, sectarian, and fundamentalist fanatics through whom more global and very dangerous and human life-demanding terror will be exercised. Martial terror with thousands of murders and rapes, etc. will also break out across the Balkans, along with atrocities that are committed in a religious and fanatical manner in Ireland and that still won't come to an end for a long time. Yet also Korea won't find any peace so quickly, as well as not Africa and South America, where tremendous human massacres and degenerate acts of war as well as abductions and murders, as well as expulsions of people from their land and even from their homeland will take place. Even Sri Lanka, Kashmir, and India, as well as Afghanistan and other countries won't remain spared from all these terrible events. Innumerable things of the coming times could still be enumerated, but what has been said so far should be enough. But despite all the bad signs, the Earth person should never and may never give up hope, as well as not his efforts, but should still let reason prevail. Billy says now, enough should actually be spoken of that, at least for the time being. In addition, I still have another important question that I would like to ask if you still have time to answer this. For this question, your medical knowledge would be required. Quetzal says after that, it should be enough for today, however. Billy says of course, so it should be. So then for a few years, there has been more and more talk of acupuncture, a healing method, with which fine needles are stuck in the body in certain places. This method of acupuncture, which is being discussed more and more, should really bring good healing results and should come from China and, of course, should have also been invented by the Chinese. The piercing of the needles into the body should be absolutely painless. But scientifically, this healing method of acupuncture is not yet investigated and proven to be right and good, at least not in the Western world, where the whole thing bumps into at least some skepticism, particularly in the medical school. Do you know something about this, and if so, what do you, as a doctor, have to say and explain to this? Quetzal says acupuncture causes the healing of physical and psychological as well as consciousness-related sufferings and illnesses through the setting of special, fine needles at specific concentration points of one's life energy, which pulse through the body on certain paths. The set needles influence the entire energetic system of the person, but this is also true for animals, fish, insects and birds, as well as for plants, when these are treated with acupuncture. The healing effect, as I already mentioned, occurs in the body, as well as in the consciousness and the psyche, depending on how and where the acupuncture needles are set. But the true origin of acupuncture doesn't trace back to traditional Chinese medicine as is, unfortunately, erroneously maintained. Rather, it was received by the latter only from old traditions and was integrated into the old Chinese medicine and brought to application. The actual origin was already established millions of years ago and, thus, traces very far back into the past, and to be sure, into Enoch's time. Enoch himself was the investigator and inventor of acupuncture, which was taken over and exercised by his peoples and which has endured to the present day among the distant descendants of the peoples from beyond the sun, which is how it has been received by today's Chinese. But despite its great remedial effectiveness, acupuncture is just one of many other methods and options of treatment for the entire field of medicine. But in principle, Acupuncture is very much more than just medicine, because its ultimate goal isn't just the healing of illnesses and sufferings or of any trivial discomforts of any kind, etc., but primarily to make the entire body as well as the consciousness and the psyche healthy and, basically, to allow no sufferings, discomforts or illnesses to arise at all. But this means that one's life energy can flow and work properly in the body. The cosmic electromagnetic life energy is the creation-given energy and is, in fact, also the actual, existing energy of creation, which is also called your energy and which is also given in all life forms as well as in every spirit form of our conscious or instinct conscious form. This life energy, which we refer to in our language by the specific designation of Qing, is a constant flux from the universe that through the energy lines, that is energy channels, which we designate as antimatter and, thus, conductive channels flows through the body of each life form, so also in humans. The Chinese designations for these forms represent their own formulations from the Chinese language and, therefore, have nothing in common with our ancient traditional terms that still trace back to our Hinox language. The life energy of an electromagnetic and cosmic nature, which we also call active energy, flows similar to flowing waters, but through a form of certain energy channels, through the entire body of every single life form, and indeed no matter what genus and species. These energy channels, that is antimatter or conductive channels, pervade the entire body of every life form, so humans as well as animals, fish, insects, birds and plants, and even microbes, bacilli and viruses, which means that actually every life form possesses them. This energy flow, the all-animating cosmic electromagnetic life energy, creates the difference between the effective living and the non-living, so between what is moving and what is non-moving. But in the case of the non-moving, there can be no talk of dying out or of totem, as the earth person erroneously designates this, for even the non-living, that is what is non-moving, is existent, as for example rock, stone, sand, and metal, etc. These things that are also life forms and that we designate as passive life forms, in contrast to active life forms, do not exist through the same form of cosmic electromagnetic life energy, through which all moving life is begotten, born, and animated and also passes again, in order to change itself into other forms. These passive life forms actually exist through a passive energy, which must logically be designated as passive cosmic electromagnetic energy. The cosmic electromagnetic life energy is constructed in the same forces of positive and negative, as this is uniformly the case in all creations of every kind. And exactly this means that neither on Earth nor on any other worlds or stars or anywhere else in the universe could or can something arise or exist that doesn't hold both forces of positive and negative in itself, or which isn't animated by the active energy or passive energy. Without the opposite forces of positive and negative, which complement each other, always being given simultaneously, nothing can become existent and nothing can exist. But this means that even with the passive energy, both forces are present, so both positive as well as negative. At the same time, the negative represents the passive, the feminine, receptive, dormant and old, while the positive represents the active, light and warmth, as well as the masculine, generative and the new, as this has been defined since ages ago. That's how the cosmic electromagnetic life energy is to be seen, therefore, divided into two factors, into two forces, respectively positive and negative energies, which form a unit in themselves as well as in their union. Now, if these energies get out of balance, then there results either an energy shortage, an energy surplus, or an energy obstruction, that is an energy blockade. And as already mentioned, and it must be said again, both forms of energy always only exist together and are inseparably linked with one another, so the feminine and the masculine and, thus, the positives and negatives are always simultaneously present, and indeed in every movable as well as immovable life form. So also must the human himself be. By this, I mean that he must move from the left to the right, that is, from a strength or even from one energy form to another, without becoming sick, stricken, or burdened with troubles thereby. But if he falls prey to a weakness of a physical, psychological, or consciousness